Hello everyone, how are you all doing? So before we get started on Azure Cloud journey with Azure storage accounts, can you quickly let me know in the chat if you are completely new to Azure Cloud or you have some knowledge or you are an expert. Even though you are an expert already, you might want to refresh things. So it is still fine to attend the session. Okay, thanks for asking. I am also good. It's early morning on a Sunday, and yesterday night we had a little bit of outing, and also I was a bit late, but still wanted to connect with you all today morning and get started with learning something important that can help all of us in our Azure cloud journey as well as in our cloud career in general. Okay, so we have people who are completely new, some knowledge, new in Azure Cloud, very new to Azure Cloud. We have even people who have joined from Japan who is having 12 a.m. there. So it's really amazing. Okay, and we have people who have just started learning Azure Cloud and Azure Fabric. We have a lot of responses. So don't worry if you are new. I'll try to provide enough information. And then if you have any doubts at all, I'll be staying back after the session and I'll make sure all of your doubts and queries are answered before I leave this meeting. And also, if you have any doubts and you want to ask over voice, you can raise your hands. Not like this, I'll not see, but you can raise your hands in Zoom and I will allow you to talk and then you can speak. As this meeting is being recorded and it will be eventually published in either the YouTube channel or in the CloudRix or Coding Architect portals. I just wanted to limit the unwanted noise, but if you are ready to speak and have a decent background environment, you can definitely raise your hand and then talk whatever you want, and then I'll try to answer the best way I can. Okay. So make sure whatever we are learning, you don't have to go back and do a lot of learning. So learn and understand today itself. Okay. So let me quickly share my screen. So to know more about me, you can go to my LinkedIn profile, which is linkedin.com/in/Hartin. So I am a cloud architect. I started with AWS Cloud because AWS Cloud was the one that actually got started first. And then later, I started working with Azure Cloud also. I was originally a developer. Then later, I transitioned myself into a DevOps engineer, and then I was focusing more on the security aspects. So I've written 3 books, and they are mostly around cloud, serverless computing, and cybersecurity. The book on cloud and cybersecurity had won the award of Best 8th Cloud Computing Book of All Time. And also, I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, so which means Microsoft provides me with the presentations I use for my trainings. However, those presentations are actually copyrighted, so I cannot share those presentations. So I generally follow a two-step approach. So initially, I'll take you through the Azure portal through my personal notes and then teach you. And then in the end, we will go through the Microsoft presentations also. Whenever it is published to YouTube, I generally publish only the ones that does not include the Microsoft presentations, and the part where we have Microsoft presentations are generally shared across only through the CloudRx portal or the Coding Architect portal. And I am also a speaker in many conferences and meetups. So this is from one of the conferences where I have spoken recently, which happened in Platform Calgary, within Alberta, within Canada. If you are in Calgary, just let me know, and then we can probably catch up for a coffee somewhere. But now it's really, really snowing, and then it will be difficult. And just one more thing, I also manage a community with close to 1 lakh 40,000 members. And we have people like Kevin, who is a popular Microsoft advocate within the Calgary region. So that's it about me. And then, so let me share Azure Cloud Portal. So if you are new to Azure, then Azure provides you with a free tier account. So you can just search for Azure free tier, and then you can go to one of the links, and then you can click on Get Started with Azure, and you can create an Azure account. So you get many services free for 12 months. Some are always free, and also you get a good amount of credits, around 200 US dollars, or around 270 or 280 Canadian dollars, or 12 to 16,000 of Indian rupee credits. Okay, so it's very, very good option to get started. And the credits are for 1 month, but many of these free services are there even after that. Okay, and if you are stuck, just ask me. You know my LinkedIn profile, and then you can just ask me, and then I'll help you out. So once you create, you just type portal.azure.com to come to this portal where you can learn about the services available, and then work on them. So today we are going to learn about storage accounts. You can just search for storage, and go to storage accounts, and then you can get to see the storage accounts. How many of you have some knowledge of Azure storage accounts? And how many of you are completely new to Azure storage accounts? Some knowledge, new. So let me start from the scratch. I'll ask a few questions to people who said they have some knowledge, and then we will start from the scratch. So what are the different storage account kinds? So we have a storage V2 written here, right? So what are the different storage account kinds? Can you quickly let me know? Just give a try. So don't be afraid. Just try. If you don't know, always mention I don't know, so that I will not wait for your answers. So if you don't know, just type D. So you don't have to type everything. So people have mentioned blob storage, queue, file storage, file. So one of the kind you can see in the screen itself, right? It is storage V2. And once you try to create a storage account, you have something called as a subscription. So if you are new to Azure Cloud, then you have to understand two basic concepts, and I will give some homework for you to explore more, and then learn more about all of these concepts. So first of all, you have this concept called as tenant. So what is a tenant? So tenant is something that gets created when you create a Azure account. So there is a question, do we get recordings for future reference? Yeah, definitely. As I mentioned, the part where we look into Azure portal, or the part where we look into my nodes that are not Microsoft provided, it will come to YouTube. Rest will come to CloudRix portal. So I will show you everything towards the end, where to get the recording and all of those things. Okay, so don't worry. But now imagine that you won't get the recording, and then focus on learning. Okay, so let's come back. When you create an Azure account, you create something called as an Azure tenant. You create your users within that Azure tenant. An Azure tenant is now called as Microsoft Entra ID, because it is not specific to Azure Cloud. Many other Microsoft products, such as Microsoft 365 and all, uses the same tenant. So people had this confusion, because initially it was called as Azure AD tenant, or Azure Active Directory. But again, it also got confused with the on-premises Active Directory. So to avoid all of those confusions, Microsoft just renamed it as Microsoft Entra ID. So you create a tenant, which is the Microsoft Entra ID, and then you create your users. So these users will be available for your Azure account, or it will be available for your Microsoft 365 or any other Microsoft SaaS products. And this under this tenant or associated to this tenant, you can create something called as an Azure subscription. So this subscription is where the billing happens. So if you consider any other cloud such as Amazon, what will happen is you create an Amazon AWS account. That account will have your credit cards or other billing information associated with it. But here, your tenant doesn't have, but a subscription has. So a subscription can be considered similar to an AWS account. There are free subscription when you create a free tier account, or there are student subscriptions. There are subscriptions that come for free with products such as Microsoft Visual Studio and all. So there are different kinds of subscription. Just imagine that it is a logical grouping of your Azure resources, and your billing information such as credit cards or any other billing information is associated with that thing called subscription. I have selected that subscription, and then you have a resource group. So resource group is just a grouping of resources. For example, you can just create a resource group, say uh, demo as I have created here, and then you can put resources from any region into it. So these two things, subscription and resource group, is needed for almost all of the Azure resources. So there is a question. So subscription knows about tenant, but the vice versa is not true, right? No, subscription and the tenant knows about each other. If I go into a different tab, so if I search for subscriptions, you can see all of my Azure subscriptions. So the subscription one is a free tier one, and then subscription two is a Microsoft Azure sponsorship or credit grants I received from Microsoft to build an AI-based version of Communities Canada. So I'll be doing a lot of POCs for the same. And then if you are interested in learning about AI or related stuff from a practical perspective, you can let me know over LinkedIn, and then I will probably have a call with you to understand your goals, and then you can work alongside me. Okay, so that is about a subscription. So a tenant is associated with a subscription. So subscription can be only part of one tenant, but a tenant can have multiple subscription. If I want to move this to another tenant, that is also possible. Okay, hope it is clear. Okay, so storage account. So storage account, if I give a name that is already taken. Earlier we saw, right, when we went to the storage accounts page, I had already created one with the name COCAN, which is a short form of Communities Canada. In that case, I cannot take it again because it has to be unique across the world. And so what I can do, I can maybe say COCAN demo. Okay, it's not taken by anybody. And then we have this concept called region. So let me quickly talk about this thing called region, availability zone, data centers. So how many of you know about these terms called region or availability zone or data centers? Many of you have heard about it because the concept is similar across other cloud providers also. Can you confirm if you can see my notes from cloudrix.com blog? Okay, so Azure and most of the cloud providers have these concepts such as regions, availability zones, and data centers. So region is a geographical area like East US or West Europe or Southeast Asia or Central India. So there are many geographical areas, and within those geographical areas, you have data centers. Okay, so data centers. How many of you have seen a data center or at least a picture of a data center? So if you go to Google and say images of a data center. You can see many pictures from inside, outside, etc. Right? So it will have a lot of racks. And when we later learn about virtual machines and then the availability options within virtual machines and all in near future, we'll discuss about these racks and all of those things. So data centers is a building such as these with a lot of racks, and then you basically store your data within those data centers. Okay, so we have data centers within a region, and then those data centers are actually grouped into something called as availability zones. So you have availability zones within a region with one or more data centers. Okay, so you have a data center, it is part of an availability zone, and availability zones are part of a region. So a region generally have up to three availability zones, but certain regions may not have those. So again, whenever we discuss about virtual machines, I will make those things super clear. Okay, so let me go back to our Azure portal. So any questions about regions or availability zone or data center? Region, we can for now select East US2. And then this primary service thing, it is actually optional to select, but let us select Azure Blob Storage or Azure Data Lake Storage N2. And then, so this gives us some clue about the storage kinds, but again, it is a bit confusing. So do not rely on this. And then you have a standard option, which is the general purpose V2 storage account option. So here we see the kind as storage V2, right? It is that one. And then you also have the premium option. So with the premium option, you have the option to select block blobs, file shares, page blobs. So how many of you understand the difference between different types of blobs, such as page blobs or block blobs or something that is not written here, which is append blobs? So people who said they know about these things, right? So tell me a few things quickly. If I select this option, Azure Blob Storage, and then if I select standard, what would be the storage kind? Okay, it will be V2. There is no confusion. So if I select this one, and if I select premium, and then if I select file shares, what will be the option? Okay, it will be file storage. So what if I select Azure Files here and then go for premium? So would it be both same? So I have two options, right? I can select this option and go to premium and then select file shares, or I can select Azure Files here and then go to premium directly. The storage kind for these two would be same or different? At least tell me that. Would it be same or would it be different? What do you think? Even if you don't know the answer, you can just make a guess. Almost everybody have said either different or I'm guessing it is different. But one of the interesting facts here is that it is same. So irrespective of whether you select this option or this option, so generally people get a people think that okay, if I have selected storage and two and then go for premium and then select file shares, it is going to be a storage V2, but it is not the case. So when you think about storage kinds, just ignore this column. It's an optional column. Okay, and then this UI, it could change anytime in future. I'll also show you certain places where UI is not very perfect. So let me quickly go to the blog and then let me pull out. Okay, so understanding Azure storage account types. So what are the types available? You have standard general purpose V2. You have premium block blobs. You have premium file shares, and you have premium page blobs. Unlike any other blog website, you won't see any ads or anything here. It's just a pure content only. So you can read through it. So we have four things: standard general purpose V2. And within that standard general purpose V2, we have blobs, we have files, we have queues, and we have tables. Okay. So tell me, what is the full form of blob? Okay, it is a binary large object. So blobs are where we'll be storing data, mostly using a like a put and get. Yeah, storing unstructured data, and then files. So basically, it is a file share. So in your organization, you might have a shared file system, right? Where somebody will be placing a file and then you can take it. So you can create folders and all. It is a hierarchical thing. Okay. So we will learn more about the files when we will experiment them from the Azure portal. So do not worry a lot about that. And queues. How many of you have seen a queue in a movie theater or some other place? And how many of you have heard about this term called FIFO? FIFO. Okay, it is first in, first out. Queues are in general first in, first out data structures. We will learn more about queues also. And tables, again, how many of you have heard about non-relational databases and relational databases? Okay, so I will be mentioning a lot of terms here. So if you do not understand any of these terms, you can ask now or just note it down and then ask me later in LinkedIn or Facebook or even in our Keva study group, wherever you are interacting with me. And then I will take a session on those things also. Okay, so tables are a non-relational data storage, and there are other non-relational ones also within Azure Cloud. So we'll do a comparison when we look into tables. The important thing to know here is that, okay, you have a standard general purpose, you have premium block blobs, you have a premium file shares, and you have a premium page blobs. So these are the four account types, and based on those account types, this is the mapping for the kind. If you select standard general purpose V2 account type, the kind will be storage V2. And for premium block blobs, the kind will be block blob storage. And premium file shares, it will be file storage. And premium page blobs, it will be storage V2. So one quick question. We discussed about three things, right? Page blobs, block blobs, and append blobs. Block blobs premium is within premium block blobs. That is clear. And premium page blobs are within storage V2. So where does append blobs come? Can you make a guess? Okay, so depending on whether you are going with a premium option or non-premium option, if it is a non-premium option, everything will be every blob option will be storage V2. And if it is a premium option, append blobs will be under block blob storage. So we will look into it when we actually see them from the portal. If you want to read more about block blobs, append blobs, and page blobs, I have notes for that. So block blobs are the most commonly used blob type in Azure. So all your unstructured data generally goes into block blob. Your videos or audio or images, all of those things generally go into block blob. So append blob is a special a kind of block blob where you'll be appending towards the end. And one common use case is log files. Okay, so you have log files, right? Lot of applications will be sending logs. So basically, you are not going to edit it. In that case, you are just going to append it. So append blobs are for that. And page blob, it's a different concept altogether. So basically, the block blob is block based. Append blob is also the same, but for a different use case. Page blobs allow random read or write operations, and it is mostly used for your hard disks and all. Okay, you need to write into random places, right? So whenever we learn about virtual machines and we create virtual hard disks for our virtual machines, then we will look how these come into action. Okay, so these are the three types again. For easy learning, I've created a table here, and also when to use each one of them. Okay, how to create them, as we discussed. Blob for standard performance, everything you just select general purpose v2 with standard performance. And for premium, for blob you select premium blob storage. For append blob you select premium blob storage again. And for page blob you select premium page blob storage. Clear? And again the mapping to just make things clear. So all for standard, it is a storage v2, and for premium, it is either blob storage or storage v2. Okay, so I'll share all of these links later, but now also I'll just share it so that you can keep a track of those. So this is the kind one, and this is the blob one. Okay, so storage account kinds. So clear until now? Can we proceed further? Let me also go back to Azure portal. Okay, good. So here we are back here. So let us go with the standard for now. And then you have something called as redundancy. Okay. So this redundancy is where the regions and availability zones and all those concepts we learned come into picture. So here, the first level of redundancy is locally redundant storage or LRS. We learned about region availability zone data centers and all, right? So and we saw picture of multiple data centers with racks, right? LRS will give you redundancy within that data center. The data will be replicated across racks so that if one rack goes off, maybe due to some hardware failure or you see hacking movies and all, right? People going inside these data centers and fighting all these Mission Impossible and other kinds of movies. So if somebody damage one of the racks, the data is usually replicated across different racks. So that is the least replication or least redundancy you'll get. Okay. So your data is always replicated in case of Azure storage accounts. But in the least case, it will be replicated only within the data center across multiple racks. Okay. And then if you want across multiple availability zones, tell me which one of these I should select if I want to spread across multiple availability zones. So there is a question, redundancy is backup, right? So when you say redundancy, to understand it properly, how many of you know about these terms called as synchronous replication and asynchronous replication? If you know, you can say S. If you don't know, you can say N. Okay, so many of these things are important whether you want to become a regular Azure engineer or even a data engineer. Imagine that I have three systems and I am writing to first system. And for backup purposes, I have two more systems. So when I write to this first system, this system will write to other two systems. This is not specific to Azure Cloud. Okay, just three systems. I'm writing to one system and this system will write to other two systems for backup. If I'm writing to the first system and then this system is writing to other two systems and then telling me that, okay, my write has been successful, that is called as synchronous replication. Okay, so asynchronous replication means I am writing to this first system and then the system say that, okay, the write has been successful. And then while I do other things, it will in parallel copy to system 2 and 3. So that is called asynchronous replication. Clear? So when it comes to a cloud or Azure cloud, so here, whenever it is within a region, the replication is usually, can you guess, synchronous or asynchronous? Synchronous. And whenever it is across regions, is it synchronous or asynchronous? Asynchronous. Okay, because across regions, it will take more time, and if I have to wait for that, I will not get faster response. Okay, and then within a region, all of these data centers are connected using Microsoft's own backbone network, so it will be really really fast. So now, so locally redundant means within that data center. Okay, so now you understand why we looked into regions, availability zones, and data centers, right? So locally redundant means within a data center, and technically it also means within a availability zone. And zone redundant means, like many of you said, it is across availability zones. Okay, availability zone redundant. So it is across availability zones. And geo redundant means it is across regions. And then GZRS means within your primary region, it will be across zones. And then it will also be replicated to other regions as well. And then there is another, there is not selectable from the screen, but called RAGZRS. Basically, so when you are replicating to other regions, you can use it in two ways. Either when the primary goes down, secondary will come up, or even when the primary is available also for faster region specific retrievals, the other ones can be used as a read-only one also. Okay, so if you want that read access also, then you select this one. Okay, so let me quickly take you to the notes for the same. So redundancy options, you have LRS, we have ISDRS, we have GRS, we have RAGRS, and we have GZRS and RAGZRS. Okay, so any doubts about these? Okay, so there is a question about GZRS. Locally redundant storage, LRS, data is replicated 3 times within a single data center. No doubt, right? And then zone redundant storage, data is replicated across 3 availability zones. That also you don't have any doubt. GRS means data is replicated within primary region, similar to LRS, but it is also asynchronously replicated to another region for disaster recovery. You have heard this term disaster recovery, right? So there are many core terms related to cloud. I will let you know how to go about it towards the end of the session. So those three are clear. And then for this GRS, so normally what will happen in disaster recovery is you have your primary, which is in one region, and then you have a secondary in another region. Okay, and when primary goes, secondary will come into effect. There is a question: does this redundancy option help us in load balancing too? In a way, in case of this RA options, it is not like the automatic load balancing that happens within a virtual machine environment. So that load balancing we will learn when we go to virtual machines. After exploring storage accounts, we actually will go to virtual machines. All those load balancing and all of those things we will learn later. But here, different regions can be used for read-only purposes. Okay, so it is kind of a manual load balancing, not the auto load balancing like in virtual machines. Okay, once we learn that, you will understand better. So here, imagine that I am replicating data from region 1 to region 2. By default, with this option, everybody will be reading from region 1. And if region 1 is down, then people will start reading from region 2 in this option. But with this option, data writing will always happen in region 1. And similar to this option, data will be asynchronously replicated to region 2. But here, you can also read from region 2. So people from region 2 can read little bit faster from region 2 itself rather than everybody reading from region 1. So this is that extra read access option. But one thing to keep in mind is that it is asynchronously replicated. So region 2 users might not actually see these things in real time. So read access GRS, it is just you are able to read from a secondary, and then geo-zone redundant storage GZRS, meaning in the primary it will be ZRS and it will be also copied to secondary. And if you enable read access on this scenario, it will become RA GZRS. Everybody clear now? And one more thing to consider is that in standard general purpose V2, you have all of these options. You have LRS, ZRS, GRS, RAGZRS, RAGRS. All of these options are available in standard general purpose V2. But if you select the premium options, you'll only have LRS and ZRS. Okay. So based on your redundancy needs, based on your latency needs. So what is latency? All of those key terms I've explained in a different video, and recording is available the YouTube channel. I will help you understand where it is after this session. Okay, so if you watch that, you learn all about the fundamentals of cloud. Okay, so at least this concept about redundancy options is clear, right? So I'm taking things little bit slow. My goal is to make sure everybody, including people who are completely new and people who are in with some level of knowledge, everybody becomes in the same level towards the end. So let me go back to Azure portal. So I assume you are now clear about different storage kinds and the standard and premium options. Okay, so now let us keep it simple. And then if I go to next, so there are a lot of security options available. And then there is this option to enable hierarchical namespace, which is needed for converting it into a data lake storage. We'll see all of those things in future sessions. And then access protocols, and then blob storage. Okay, so blob storage, you have something called as access tiers based on how frequently you will be accessing data. Microsoft gives you the option to pay less for or pay more for data storage. Hot means you are accessing it every day frequently. In that case, you need something that has less access cost, but you are okay with regular storage cost. Okay, so if you are accessing it more frequently, then your access cost should be the least, right? So that is hot. So cool means you infrequently use. So your storage cost should be less, but it is okay to have a little bit of access cost, which is more than hot. And cold means it is rarely used, so you can have more access cost, but less storage cost than cool. So there are also different criteria, such as if you are using cool, you need to keep it minimum for 30 days. If it is cold, 90 days. And there is also one more called archive, where it is 180 days. So let us quickly check that notes also, and then come back. So you have hot air. It is for data that is accessed or modified frequently. You have cool air for data that is infrequently accessed but still requires a fast retrieval. And minimum retention period is 30 days. So lower cost than hot, higher access cost than hot. So cold air, it is similar to cool, which is this is actually something that came up very recently, I believe in last 1 year. It is the retention is 90 days here. And finally, you have archive tier. So this is mostly for all those compliance things and all. So certain governments will say, okay, the data needs to be available for 5 years, 7 years, but rarely you need that. While retrieving, you have two options: either a standard priority, it could take some hours to retrieve data, or in minutes, but it is not generally in real time. Okay, and the retention period is 180 days. So I've created a table so that you can quickly look into it and then understand. So the use cases like hot, it is for active data sets, real-time analytics. Cool, it is for backups, disaster recovery. And cold, long-term backups or compliance data. And then archive is for historical data or regulatory archives. Okay, so you can read more about these. And then if you have any doubts, you can definitely get back to me. Okay, there is a question: are archives used for audits? So if you think that, okay, so audits means there will be regular audits, right? So if you think that, okay, your data needs to be regularly audited, what do you think? Would I go with archive or cold? So both of them can store compliance data, right? So would I go with the cold or archive? If it is too frequent, I might even go with cool. Okay, but if you think that, okay, it could be accessed for audits on a regular basis, then you will not go with archive because its retrieval cost is highest. Okay, but for those things you might not even need it, but in case if somebody asks for some like maybe a court case or something, then you need that data for regulatory purposes as per government policies. For those data we generally go with archive, but if you think that, okay, it could be it needs to be accessed regularly for auditing or any other purpose, then you will never go with the archive. Okay, clear? Okay, so let us go back to storage accounts. Okay, so what is the default? And then I'll keep that. So networking enable public access from all networks. So other things within the networking sessions after the virtual machines, so we will look more into it. And again, data protection, we have something called as a soft delete. We will discuss later. Encryption. How many of you know about encryption? So what are the two primary kinds of encryption? How many of you know about symmetric and asymmetric encryption? This is a very important systems design concept. So we'll have systems design sessions if you are really interested. What is encryption? In short, you have some text such as all these texts in English you can read, right? That is generally referred to as plain text. And then you convert it into a form that nobody can understand just by looking into that text. Let us call it as cipher text. So you have a plain text and a cipher text. In all of these encryptions, they will use some algorithms. So these algorithms are publicly available. So if you are using a publicly available algorithm to convert plain text to a cipher text, anybody in the world can use that algorithm that is publicly available to convert the cipher text back to a plain text, right? So people use some random thing that only the person who encrypt knows, which is a key. So this key, along with the algorithm, makes it unique. So you use a key to convert your plain text to cipher text. And if you use the same key to convert the cipher text back into the original plain text form, which is called as decryption. So basically, if you use the same key for encryption and decryption, it is called symmetric encryption. And if you use different keys, basically a key pair. So one key in the pair you will use for encryption, that the other you will use for decryption. That is asymmetric encryption. That itself is a topic that needs to be discussed for a session. So if you want a session on encryption, symmetric encryption, asymmetric encryption, all of those things, and even how HTTPS works in your browser. So if you look into here in the browser, you see it is good. Connection is secure. So how does this connection secure thing come? So if you see here, it is HTTPS. How does this HTTPS work behind the scene? It uses these concepts of symmetric and asymmetric encryption. If you would like to learn more about it, you can let me know. I'll definitely take a session. Okay, yeah, SSL, all those things. If you need, you can let me know. So here we can either use Microsoft managed keys or customer managed keys if we don't trust Microsoft. For now, we will keep it as Microsoft managed keys. Okay, and finally, I can click on review plus create, and then this will get created. Okay, and so let us create that, and uh, quickly we will create a few others also to understand the other things that we discussed, right? So we'll create another one called token demo premium file, just to show you how the portal is little bit not the perfect one. Okay, and so let us go with the premium option, and let us go with the file shares option. And yeah, all the options we will keep it as is, and then we will click on create. And if I go back to my storage accounts, the one we created is now available. The type or the kind as expected is the storage v2. And if you go inside, you can upload files. And then one thing to understand here is that you are not just uploading files directly. So you first create something called as a container. So can container, and then you upload data into it. And also you can select whether it is block blob or page blob or append blob. Okay, so how many of you are coming from AWS background? Can you let me know, similar to Azure blob storage, what service do you have in AWS? That service is actually more popular than the Azure one, actually, because it was one of the earlier services that came from AWS. Can somebody guess that name? Yeah, it is S3. Okay, S3 is that service, and similar to this container here in Azure, you have S3 buckets. Okay, so these relations and all between different clouds, it is always good to know because most of the companies today are multi-cloud. Okay, many of the companies like at least my last three companies where I was working with the cloud, Morgan Stanley, they had both. Society General, they had both. VMware, they had both. Okay, so some knowledge of a multi-cloud is always good to have. Okay, and then I can select whatever I want based on my requirement. So like the tire, like hot or cool or cold or archive, I can select. So just play around with these things if you have an Azure account. Okay, so I can play around. So and then once I select the options I want, then I can select maybe a file to upload. And one more thing too, I forgot when we discuss about hard disk is that how many of you know about SSD disk? We saw that standard and premium, right? So in case of premium, we generally use SSDs. Okay. In case of a standard, we generally use HDDs. Okay. Yeah. So and then I can click on upload browser, or I can just go to containers, find my containers, and then see my file. So there are a lot of options. So the access type is hot, and then the blob type is block blob. Okay, so I wanted to show one more thing. So it is not created. Okay, so we created the file option, right? So if you go to upload, so Blob is not supported for the account because we created a. So here again, it is a file storage and something. Yeah, so the Microsoft could have fixed. So if I still have the upload option, but I cannot upload anything. And then I still have option to select these things, but technically I cannot do much because I cannot work with the blobs anymore. Okay, similarly, we will quickly see maybe here itself. So if I click on upload and anyway, select one of them and in advanced. So these access tiers are there, right? If I select append blob, you won't get that access tier. If I select page blob, you won't get that access tier. So I have captured that as well in the document. So we'll go back and see that after this also. Like, let me give premium blob, then select block blobs and review and create. While it is getting created, we'll go to the nodes and come back. So here, if you see, so yeah, so for block blob, you have tiers supported as hot, cool, cold, and archive. But for append blob, it is not supported. For page blob also, it is not supported. So even though you don't have access to the Microsoft PPTs, I've made sure these notes are really good enough. But still, things can change within Microsoft website or Microsoft APIs. So if you find any difference, please do let me know, and I can immediately update it so that you can use this as your reference notes whenever you need them. Okay, so let us go back to our Azure portal because the resource is now created. I assume you can see this. If you go to resource, so this is a premium blob, right? And if I go to upload and I can create a new container in advance. So now I will only, I have selected the block blob storage, right? So I have only block blob and append blob. So this also we saw from the table, right? So for block blob or append blob premium option, you select block blob. And for page blob, you will select page blob and then you will only have a page blob option. Okay, clear? Clear until now? So now let us go back. I told you, right? So you can go to, you can search for cloud computing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cloud fundamentals. Okay. So these two notes, if you are new to cloud, I will strongly recommend you go through these two. And there is also a video session recording available. So you can just go to cloud computing fundamentals video. So yeah, where I have talked about fundamentals, and then you can go to the advanced concepts where all of these things like fault tolerance, disaster recovery, all the key terms that you need to learn and understand before you start working on cloud. Okay, so that is part of. So I'll share both the links. So these are the two YouTube channels I have currently where I'll be uploading the recordings at CloudRix and also a coding architect. So anything related to cloud will come in CloudRix and anything else like that is non-cloud specific like Before we learn networking, it is good to learn about IP addresses, then the fundamental DevOps concepts or Kubernetes or containers. Before we learn about Azure Kubernetes service, we will learn about containers and Kubernetes, all of these basic things. And you talked about sessions for encryption, sessions for data storage and all, right? All those system design concepts will also come here. If you don't mind, you can subscribe to these two. We have something called as knowledge exchange study groups where you can share knowledge and then get free memberships. So there are two versions. So if you go to Coding Architect and I've added a video explaining those things, please do watch it and comment what do you think about this idea. So if you go into the Coding Architect website and go to KESG, you can just read about it. If you are from Canada, you can definitely read through it. It's a free group as long as you do two things: share knowledge at least once a month with the community, and also you attend at least one session per week. Okay, and otherwise there is a small deposit and all to make sure you do that. Okay, so similarly, if you are not from Canada, you can just go to cloudrix.com/WA. So this is for everybody across the globe, including Canada. The rules are also similar for free membership. You have to take one knowledge sharing session to the community, and nobody is going to judge you the quality. But the more you take, you can become a better version of yourself. And both of these groups have 24/7 Zoom meetings, so that if you want to discuss anything with a fellow team member or ask doubts, you just have to join that Zoom meeting. It is like a virtual office. You can go to any of the meeting rooms or just in the main room you can discuss anything. You don't have to schedule any meeting. The group has the link for 24/7 Zoom meeting. Just click, just mention the group. Okay, anybody coming to do this lab together, or I'm going to learn this, anybody coming, or I'm going to take a session at this particular time, anybody want to join? So it is always available. You don't have to schedule anything. Click, it will automatically start. Okay, so if you think the idea is good, please do share about this idea. There is a question: is it required that you present or can you attend meetings? As I have mentioned here, if you are taking sessions, then it is free. Otherwise, there is a very small fee that is required because we need to have the 24/7 Zoom meeting. All of those things, subscriptions cost money. So some people will prefer that, and some people will prefer the free option. And there are also people who simply contribute. Even if they take sessions, they just contribute some amount to help us run this program. So that is the whole idea: knowledge exchange study groups or knowledge exchange WhatsApp groups. So the idea is that you share knowledge and you get knowledge back. Okay, so thank you everybody for attending the session. We will see soon in another session. Bye bye for now, and see you all in next class.